Today we're looking at a phenomenal example of performance and editing in a scene. We're looking at Ray's flashback from the Safdie brothers film, Good Time. For those of you that know the film, you probably know exactly which scene I'm talking about. Degeneracy, drinking, drugs, and crimes. This is the scene where Ray recounts how he ended up getting arrested and hospitalized. It pulls you in, keeps you captivated, and then spits you right back out. A perfectly crafted and executed story within a story. Sometimes flashbacks feel a bit jarring or unnatural, but this one grips you and feels deeply connected with the world of the film. What's even better is that the information provided by this story, namely the missing bottle of acid, pivots the direction of the main story, making this also a really valuable plot device.
I'm not gonna spill it. Yo, how much is this shit worth?
Basically, instead of being a departure from the main story, it in fact becomes a key part of the main story. As such, the scene serves a crucial purpose. Let's take a look at what elements might be contributing to how emotionally effective this flashback is. The first and most important element is the performance that Buddy Duress gives as Ray. He tells the story in such an authentic, genuinely invested way, such that when we hear his voice and see the flashback, it feels like he's emotionally reliving those moments. You can hear it in his voice.
And I hail it and I just get in. And this driver, he just kept talking to me and I'm fucking tripping balls. And I'm telling him, please, just give me some peace and quiet or I'm gonna throw up.
You can feel his frustration. His delivery of this monologue is the lifeline of the scene. The scene lives and dies by his ability to recount the story in a riveting way. As much praise as I would like to give the editing, the soundscape, and the music, they're largely being motivated by his emotional escalation in the recounting of the story. To me, it feels like the editing and music are constructed around this escalation. I've talked a lot about the synergetic effect of when all of the elements of a film complement one another. Well, this is a perfect example. His emotional investment and the emotional escalation of his delivery colors how we perceive the images we see, the story we hear, and how emotionally invested we become. So the images and sounds that play over this scene follow his narration. This makes what is already a great story well told that bit more immersive. Keep in mind, they could have just shown us a scene of Ray telling the story in the back of the car. They chose to include images and sounds from all these little moments. I think particularly timing the sounds of the scenes adds so much to the rhythm of the story. For each new environment, we have a new soundscape, so it feels like we're constantly progressing in the story. We also get short lines from the characters to fill in the parts that Ray doesn't recount. These add really strong auditory rhythmic elements to the edit.
So I call my boy Khalif, he comes through with some more liquor
boy's home,
and
man.
some sticks of Xanax.
My brother.
He takes some sticks, I take some sticks.
I'm a free man.
And by now we're all fucked up and I'm just feeling so good that I don't even give a fuck.
So even in moments where Ray might pause in telling the story, we still have an auditory stimulus informing us about what happened, propelling us forward. We're not given a chance to breathe and take it in. We're barreled into the next moment again and again. When coupled with the rising score, it makes the edit feel like an overwhelming musical crescendo.
Get out of
And I
this
tell the
car.
driver, I tell him, don't worry, I'm gonna go in the house, I'll get the money and come right back.
Another important element that supports all of this is the structure of the story. As soon as he starts the story, we know what's at stake. Ray is out on parole and risks going back to jail. We also know the situation he's in now with Connie and that he got caught at some point.
I don't know if I ended up in the hospital first, the precinct first. I don't know if they got my fingerprints. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I don't remember half of it because I was so goddamn fucked up.
So we're asking ourselves, how did he end up getting arrested and hospitalized? We're already primed for a good story. From the start, each element of his story includes risky and illegal activity, so each time we're thinking, oh, this is where he gets caught. But then we end up in yet another dodgy situation and it's still escalating. This builds up the tension so well. We keep expecting the answer and keep getting pulled a little bit further on the hook until we finally reach the point where he jumps out of the taxi.
And just jump.
Just as a quick aside, I absolutely love this part of the scene, particularly this moment where he stares at the road flying by beneath him. There's something so surreal about how he deliberates for a moment here and stares into the darkness before leaping into it. I love it. Then all of this built-up tension is released with one of the funniest lines in the whole film.
And now look at my fucking face. I can't go walk around looking like this.
Although to be fair, I could also watch this shot of him running down the street for a lot longer. It's hilarious. I mean, Buddy Duress is this scene. Don't get me wrong, all of the other elements are incredibly strong, but in this scene, they're all supporting band members to him as a frontman. Buddy Duress wasn't a trained actor, by the way. In fact, a lot of the elements of the story he recounts have similarities with his own life. These are experiences he was familiar with. It's really unfortunate that he passed away so young before we were able to see what else he could offer as an actor, because he had a quality of raw authenticity that's unfortunately rare. I'd also highly recommend Heaven Knows What, which is another Safdie brothers film in which he delivers an equally convincing performance.
Wait!
No,
What are you gonna do?
I wasn't thinking we gotta go.
But with regards to this scene, I would highly suggest taking a closer look at it and how well it's crafted and constructed to see what else you can take from it, or if you spot anything else interesting in it. I'd also highly recommend the film as a whole if any of this sounded intriguing to you. I mean, it keeps you gripped throughout and feels very raw and real. But yeah, that's all for this analysis. Thanks for listening, and see you soon.